Welcome back to The View with Vertex, the scaffolding industry podcast. We are joined today by none other than Aaron the Scaffman Maguire. Please like, subscribe and follow for more content. We're in. How are we going, man?
Yeah, all good. How about yourself?
I'm not too bad. Well, I'll start by saying thanks for coming on and doing this, because I can imagine a lot of what we talk about as we go through the episode might be slightly uncomfortable. You know, maybe the first time it's been really spoke about in public, some of it at least. So yeah, cheers for doing that, and hopefully what comes of it will be a bit of positivity and help people to make some better decisions in their lives.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, and being able to share the journey with people who need to hear it, really.
So, start at the beginning. We'd like to go all the way back when we can do. Where did you grow up?
So Stockport over in Gatley, just next to Wythenshawe there, yeah.
Right, so pretty much right on the border with Wythenshawe.
Yeah.
Okay, and sort of what was early years like for you?
So I grew up with just my mum, basically. Dad had fucked off from about 1-2, so I don't even know who my dad is, basically. Never had no interest to bother trying to chase him up. He's never bothered with me in my eyes, so yeah, grew up with just my mum in a council house in Gatley. And yeah, everything was all right. So I was getting on to like teenage years, started hanging around with, other lads on the estate and stuff, smoking weed, into all that sort of business, getting up to no good.
I mean, like what you're describing really there is a pretty, to some people might say, oh God, that sounds terrible. But like,
it's average.
It's quite a normal experience for like people who end up in the scaffolding game, isn't it, really? Yeah. Like, to a lot of people in the more sort of professional world, it sounds like, oh God, that, it sounds so tough and, hand to mouth and all the rest of it. But for many of us, that's, it's just a very normal experience. And, there's some challenging times, but some great times as well. Like you say, hanging about with you, you've usually got a lot of mates. Sometimes up to no good. Sometimes, just knocking about playing football or whatever. But
yeah, a bit of both, exactly. And, that's just normality for people on the council estates or in that sort of surrounding areas, like you say.
So where did you go to school?
Kingsway in Gatley, Cheadle there, yeah.
Kingsway?
Yeah.
And what's that? It's just like a
high school, normal
high school?
Yeah.
How did you find schooling?
School was all right, up until about year 9, 10. Obviously then started wagging it, ducking off, smoking weed, not really bothering with school, weren't really for me. Didn't really find it good, to be honest, apart from the sports side of things and that.
I always find this fascinating. Like, most people say the same thing, don't they? When, they end up getting into scaffolding, they say, school really wasn't for me. I enjoyed the active side of it, sports, PE or whatever. Some people might say that they enjoyed like technology and things like that, messing about with woodwork and stuff. But for the most part, sitting there at a desk and being told what to do, it's difficult.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't really get on with that. I'm more hands-on. Classroom, it's boring, found it hard. Apart from, like you say, unless it was physical or hanging around with mates and stuff, that was the good bit.
So, and this is just like for my own personal interest. Did you know what like scaffolding really was? I mean, obviously you see it around buildings and stuff like that, but did you hear much about like trades and things like that when you was at school?
Not necessarily scaffolding, more I managed to get into construction with a local builder, doing normal repointing work, stuff like that for a little while. Funny I ended up into that actually, because I owed someone a bit of money for a bit of weed, and I got thrown in there with a local builder to pay this bill off, because obviously went to see my mum. She had no money to pay him on the breadline. And that's how it started in the construction for me, grinding out. And
so was this like once you'd left school, like was this kind of as you were probably still supposed to be in school? Or?
Yeah, exactly, when I was still supposed to be in school, yeah.
Because it's a weird one for me, because like I was the same. I didn't really enjoy school at all. I didn't do well in my exams at all. And I think people find that strange now, because they see some of the stuff that we do now. The business is a health and safety consultancy. It involves quite a lot of, quite detailed, writing of things like risk assessments and method statement, making sure your wording is absolutely bang on. English, I always found I was naturally quite good at, and communicating, and probably leads on to what I do now with the teaching and things like that. I always enjoyed it, but I was never going to do well at it, because it just didn't have the I guess the attention span would be it, you know, just to sit down and actually do things the way that schools want you to do. I think it's a real shame. I think we're not really getting to kids in the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like you say, the school system, there's not really much for, like you say, leading into the construction side of things. I mean, when obviously I was on the Rocky Road, like year 10, they did try to put me into a thing called Manpower. It's like a mechanics workshop.
Yeah, they call them provisions, don't they?
Yeah, an alternate to school if you're not getting on well there. So I went there for one day, didn't like it, never went back. School never called me back, and then never went back to school again.
Because I think, you know, that would work, you know, for scaffolding. I think, you know, all right, sometimes when you're just at that age, you just want to be out with your mates. You just want to be pissing around. You just want to be sat there smoking weed or doing whatever you do at that age. But, you know, I think there's more of a chance if you mix it up a little bit. All right, maybe mechanics not for you. Maybe, you know, try a bit of bricklaying. Maybe try a bit of scaffolding. Maybe try this. There's a lot of different options out there, and I think they do lend themselves to sort of people like us. So school never really ends up being for you. You find your way into construction, start getting a bit of money in your pocket through working.
To be honest, that didn't last too long. I managed to pay the bill off. The fella sort of got rid of me then. And then, yeah, I was not in work. So.
And what was the reason for that? Just too distracted by other things, or?
Yeah, maybe I weren't showing enough work ethic for it. I was more busy watching other things going on around me. Do you know what I mean?
Because I wanted to touch on that as well. Like, I think a lot of it's to do with role models, you know, and having positive role models around you. So obviously you've got this guy who wants you to do a bit of grinding out and things like that. But it's probably just, you know, local handyman, if you will. And then I know from where I'm from, you know, I grew up in Moston, you know, similar sort of idea, council estate or whatever, single parent family. And you look at the people on the estate who've got the money, and like there was never none of them were fucking health and safety consultants, let's put it that way. Do you know what I mean? Like none of them do what I do now. Yeah. You know, all the people who had money around there were selling drugs, they were robbing banks, they were, you know, they were criminals. And with the criminality, this is, you know, an uncomfortable truth that a lot of people don't want to maybe admit to. You look up to it and you think it gives you a bit of feeling of power. Do you know what I mean? You know, people are going to be intimidated by if you start selling a bit of weed, start selling a bit of, you know, whatever else, you know, get involved in a bit of gang violence. People are going to, you know, respect you. And I think a lot of us are yearning to be respected. We've gone through the schooling system. We're told that we're not smart. We're told that we're not kind of good enough, pushed to the side a little bit. And we want to feel powerful. And a lot of the time, like that life can give you a sense of that. Do you think so?
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on that, even aside from the power side of things, people probably do get a lot of that. But more so, what people don't realise is, especially like me at a younger age, you know what I mean, coming from a single family home, maybe your mum's not working because she's ill, because that was my situation. You're out there to survive. Do you get what I mean? So if that leads into crime or selling drugs, whatever it is that people are doing or done, people miss the point that they're doing it to survive, and that's the only thing that they know.
It's the quickest route for me to be.
To make money, to put food on the belly, or clothes, whatever it is, to survive, because they don't know any alternate, like you say, to a job or a career path. They've not got the right direction or the right role models showing them into these things to put that line in of money in the pocket each week.
And I do
keep
think,
them on track.
Yeah, the father figure sort of side of things, it does come into it, you know. I mean, it's a double-edged sword really, because I'm quite proud of the fact of like, and I've seen you with your kids as well, by the way. It's brilliant, brilliant to watch. Like, you know, taking them into work and things like that. I think it's kind of made me the dad I am. Yeah. You know, maybe not having my dad around as much as I would have liked to. You know, yours, like you say, wasn't around at all. Yeah. I also think I found some kind of father figures in scaffolding.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you do. Father figures, brothers, stuff like that, you know.
Like positive male.
Yeah. And like you say, I think, like with me growing up without a dad, that makes me do it more intense. So like now I have my kids, I'm not with any of the mums. I've got 2 different mums with 3 kids, twins and another son, younger lad. And that makes me have them more, even though I'm not with them. Like a lot of people just have them on the weekend, the kids. Like with me, I have them day on, day off.
Yeah. Because
to me, that's more important than business or work. Do you get what I mean? Because how it affected me at a younger age, and that guidance.
I've noticed it, you know, looking at you and seeing you around and stuff. I've noticed that You are like you doting father. You're always kind of hands on with them, and it is brilliant to see. But I think that if it's similar to me, it's like you want to make sure they don't miss out on what you missed out on.
Yeah, and again, that discipline and the guidance, the direction in life. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, and so back in the day, once things start going maybe a little bit sideways, and I suppose the same sort of idea, father figures and things like that, you can find that in gang life, really.
Yeah.
What was the story of where it started to go off the rails for you?
So again, for me, obviously ended up in a bit of debt. Only the mother figure. And to be honest, she couldn't really keep control of me. I was a little fucker. Smoking weed, out doing all sorts of stuff to fund it, you know. And then one thing led to another. Like you said, I had dealers around the house to looking for money to pay some of these bills off what had accumulated that couldn't get funded. So crime started kicking in, obviously with some of the older lot. And then it started escalating when I got kicked out of the house. I had the police knocking at the door one night because obviously I was out drinking and on the drugs. Ended up nicking one of the neighbours' cars, drunk. Got arrested for that, got convicted of that. So rightly so, my mum had booted me out. That was me, homeless, like 15, 16.
So what happened with so you get convicted? I take it was like, well, you used to call it twocking back in the day.
That's what it was. Yeah. Burglary and twok for taking a car. You know what I mean? Just for joyriding purposes.
But no prison sentence at that time.
No, just like youth offending team, stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of like probation and.
Yeah. Just attend appointments and stuff. But again, they're just tick the box exercises. There's still, again, there's no real role model there, or there's no frightener. No. With it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as we sort of go on through it, I think the jail side of things, it can go one or two ways. Can't it? It can be, you can either find a reason not to go back, or I found with a lot of, you know, mates that I've had growing up, the first time they go in is like they're in and out for the rest of their life, because they're around other criminals. I know it's there to rehabilitate, but you know, so it can take you either way. It can make you worse, or sometimes can make things better.
Like you say, well, with prison, that's what I found. If you've got no purpose, like for me, my purpose eventually was my kids after a couple of jail sentences. But at first, like you say, you're going in, you're getting more educated on crime, you're learning deeper crimes, more things, and your eyes are opening with other prisoners thinking, what you in for, mate? You know what I mean? And then you're thinking, fucking hell, we'll have a go at that. Or you're teaming up, you're partnering up with people to start doing other conspiracies and further things in crime. You know what I mean?
So what was the first prison sentence for?
So the first prison sentence for me, I was 20 years old when I got convicted of that. Obviously beforehand, when I was homeless, in and out, being locked up for numerous things. And then obviously I got...
Just nights in the cells and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so then I got convicted of conspiracy to steal for breaking into 2 high street banks, one in Stockport, one in Blackpool, and numerous shops, breaking into ATM machines.
So, I mean, that's, you know, what people... I think it's weird how it's described in the media, because like it's serious kind of organised crime, innit? Yeah. But I don't think sometimes the media realise how... I mean, it's organised to a degree, but like how disorganised it is. It's not necessarily like, you know, they have this idea there's just some guy sat in a suit with a big cigar hanging out of his mouth going, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And it's just not the case. It's just like you say, you hear people are doing something, you think, oh, maybe I'll have a bit of that. And then, you know, it sort of progresses from there. It's not like this, you know, big... You know,
Mafia
boss. This big business plan of how we're going to go about these things. I guess a lot of it's just a case of one thing leading to another, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, for me, I was hanging around with a lot of people a lot older than me, so they was well more ahead than me within that sort of industry. And like I say, for me, I was just reckless. So I was the man in there, basically smashing the walls down, whatever the dirty work was needed to be done, hard working if you like, but in the wrong fucking sector.
Something that probably, I know you as well, like, so I know how hard you work.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the first things that struck me about it. Do you know what I mean? So I can imagine that if you're in that sphere and you need someone to, I guess it's the equivalent of marching the kit onto the site. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone to do the dirty work, then, you know, Aaron's your man, I guess. Yeah,
so I was in there, obviously, like I say, we were smashing the bank walls through, whether it be breaking into an empty shop next door to an high street bank, or if I had an alleyway passage thing at the side, we got done basically for smashing all in the bank walls, jumping in, playing with the alarm systems, and then, you know, eventually the other lads will jump in and cut the ATM machines open with angle grinders or still saws.
See, again, it's like it's probably something that not a lot of people would like to admit, but they are skills that are the construction skills, really, aren't they? Or demolition.
Yeah.
Certainly. And I always find this when I'm talking to people who've led a bit of a street life, is that a lot of what they're doing works just as well in the commercial world of legitimate business as it does in
the criminal world.
In the criminal world, it's just that, you're exposed to one before the other, unfortunately.
Exactly, and this is like where I've been struggling lately with trying to transfer, like you say, the hard working skills, doing all the dirty work, even down to like being a scaffolder and stuff, doing the actual hard part is totally different. Like you say, it's not because you're stupid or you haven't got a clue, it's just you don't know, you're not been around that environment with business and how to legally structure things. Again, a lot of criminals that I've met and I know are very smart people. It's just that they've not managed to transfer it into business and legal businesses. So again, it's been around the right environments and
absolutely,
the right role models and stuff.
100%. It's like it's exactly that. Like if you meet the right people and you're humble enough to go, well, I don't know about that, and I'm not just going to try and blag it or redline it or run a risk. I'm going to actually learn about it and do things the right way. Having the right people around, you can definitely make a massive difference.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like now at the minute, I've been basically over the last couple of years since coming away from my partner and whatnot, merging more into like property sectors, learning about property development, property investments, getting around people with actual businesses, scaffolding businesses, and just learning from them. Sometimes you have to pay to be in groups, into these group chats or networking events or mentors. This is what you've got to do. Do you get what I mean? Sometimes you don't get things for free.
Yeah, what they say, don't they? They say there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
It's a popular kind of saying in business, and it's true. The crazy thing is, though, there's a lot of people that they get that little bit of success early days. The transit bandit thing bothers me, like the word, because I think it's just a broad brushstroke, and some people are just starting out and they've got that type of vehicle and they've got every intention of doing things right, and some are genuinely transit bandits. But however, I think there's plenty of them out there, the real transit bandits, who will spend, they'll get 500-600 quid for a front of an house or something like that, and they'll go and buy a new set of trainers, and they'll have the latest watch on, and they'll have fucking turkey teeth hanging out their head. And my Aaron's coming on next, so I better watch what I'm saying. He's just got his hair done in turkey, hasn't he? But do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people who have this outward show of wealth because they're doing kind of all right, working for themselves. And it's like, you could be spending that money building your business. Like, any money that you get in the early days should be going back in. And like you say, it doesn't always have to go back into tubes and fittings either. Networking is definitely part of it. You've got to be, willing to pay to be in certain rooms, I suppose.
Exactly, like you say with myself, I pay sometimes monthly subscriptions to be in groups or hanging around active investors, developers, people who are pushing the needle to do better, and just to even David Lloyd memberships, stuff like this, getting around high-end gyms, just even if you're not actively networking with people, sitting in the sauna, listening to business conversations rather than being on the estate or listening to drug dealers.
Yeah, it's being exposed to it.
You know what I mean? So yeah, this is what you've got to be. You've got to get yourself around the right environments.
It's weird though, because you kind of, in order to be this new person, who is a business owner and somebody who wants to progress in life and all the rest of it, it's almost like the old person's
It's got to go.
Got to go and got to die.
Yeah.
How have you found that personally?
Difficult, mate. Yeah, difficult at an older age now. You know what I mean? What, 34 now?
Right.
So, like you say, from a younger age, doing all crime or being in and out of jail, that's easy. Doing jail's easy. It was easy for me, to be honest, because I didn't have any children at the time. But thinking about doing it now would be very difficult.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? But again, like you say, transitioning your full life from what you know to what you now need to know to push forward in life and in business can be difficult, mate. Yeah.
I definitely found it difficult because all your friends are a certain way. They know Isaac as being a certain way. Sometimes I make the joke about me being in health and safety, and they'll probably recognise me as being the least healthy or safe person they ever worked with. Do you know what I mean? Because I was fucking, like you said the word reckless. I was absolutely reckless when I was younger, and it's weird in a way. You have to kind of reconcile that you are still that person. Do you know what I mean? You are still the kid off the estate who did all those things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As well as being the mentor for people to try and stop them from doing those things. But I think it can be exhausting, you know, trying to, you know, find the line between what you used to be and what you're trying to become. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard, to be honest with you, mate. And again, quite a lot of people do want to help. Again, sometimes it's going to cost you money. Maybe, you know, for me, like, I found it hard because you come away from your full-time job to try and do your own business, starting that off. First, it was dropping a few days. And then before you know it, your boss wants rid of you because you're not fully committed to their business, which I get, rightly so. And then you're in the deep water then. Do you get what I mean? You're on your own.
You're in the same position. Do you know, like when we had the scaffold business, we had a guy working for us, and he's a top lad as well, Sam. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was like, he was coming into work every morning and he was fucked. He was tired. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And he's a grumpy little bastard as well sometimes. So he'd be coming in and he'd be giving all the lads in the yard a hard time, you know.
Yeah, rubbing off.
Yeah, just funny lad as well, by the way. But like just ripping the piss out of him, but grumpy.
Yeah.
And then he'd be wanting to get off at sort of 2 o'clock to do his own stuff. And it came to a point when we had to have the conversation with him, and it was never a bad thing. It was always just a case of, look, we know what's happened, we know why it's happening.
Yeah.
We think you're probably better off doing what you're doing, and, you know,
push on with it.
Yeah, push on and go for it. And, you know, we supported him the best we could. You know, if there's anything that we could push his way, we did. Yeah. And he's still going now, so
he's doing all right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing all right. But you do have to cut the cord at some point, don't you? From both sides.
And sometimes, like you say, you do need that push to press on for yourself. If not, you'll never do it. So, like you say, it's for both sides, business aspect.
So, what have you found like the steepest sort of learning curve since starting on your own?
The hard part first for me was, you know, doing all the work yourself, having the problems of delivering these jobs, whether it's just residential or not, underpricing jobs, learned the hard way with that. Not charging higher on scaffolds.
What did you do when you undercharged for jobs? Because I know what we ended up doing in the first place, but I just wanted to hear your perspective on it.
For me, I had to bite the bullet. Yeah. You've agreed to a deal and a job. You have to see it through.
Yeah. Horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I just think, you know, you learn when you've got your feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know a lot of people and fair play to them as well, but they've started businesses when they've already been at the top end of scaffolding companies. They've been contract managers.
Got a lot more knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge, network, experience and all the rest of it. But I genuinely think nothing beats, you know, going through it the hard way.
Well, you learn the hard way, don't you?
Yeah. You know, underpricing jobs and fucking just going, you know, got to bite the bullet here. Just, you know, I'm going to have to stick to my word.
Yeah.
Even things like, you know, overcommitting on, you know, buying materials and, you know, I think when it's your own money, it hits different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you look at everything different, don't you? Like I say, it's easy being in a job, turning up, having a work van, all paid for. It's comfort. I call it comfort living. And that's why people don't want to leave, or they don't want to go to other companies. Like, for instance, me starting out, no one really wants to work with you because you're putting in a lot of hard work. They don't want to do the hard work. They want the easy ride. Yeah. Comfort life. And this is where I think bigger companies not necessarily have their foot on them, but they've got you locked in.
Yeah, they've got the golden handcuffs.
They've got you locked in. Give them a work van, give them a fuel card, especially bigger firms, you know. And your staff are going nowhere, really.
And I think that, you're right. And I think it goes all the way up the chain as well.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the lads, it's easy here. You know, we're getting an hour for our brew.
If it's pissing down, we stay out of it.
Yeah. We you know, we can sit in the van, we can moan and say, you know, play cards and whatnot, you know.
Sit on your phone.
Yeah. Whereas when you're on your own, or people working with someone who is on their own, they can't do that. No. But I think it's right the way up the chain as well. I think, you know, a contracts manager for a big business, it's like they've probably started to learn the skills where they could do it for themselves, but it's like, if things go sideways here, and like I lose a bit of money on that job, or the labour to revenue isn't what it should be, and you know, you just go, blame this, blame that.
Out.
Yeah, it's not them watching the bank balance disappear.
Yeah.
Or potentially, I mean, you know, when we started out early days, there'd be months and months at a time where we didn't pay ourselves.
Yeah.
And when people hear that from business owners, they go, "Yeah, you did pay yourself, didn't you? Like, you mean you didn't pay yourself much?" And you're like, "No, we've literally for the first, I think, 3 months." Fuck all.
No wages.
No wages whatsoever. Watching your savings, bank balance, fucking overdraft, just fucking disappear.
Yeah.
All in like the hope that you're going to get a brighter future out of it. So it's tough.
I guess, like you say, you know, you just open up new problems. You can have enough material, you have the jobs going smoothly, then more comes in. You're trying to keep up with demand, and you have the new problem again: materials, labour, vehicles, transport, insurances.
Yeah.
You're always opening up new doors. You think you suss one out, and then a new problem's getting opened up.
Yeah. That's it. That is all it is. I mean, I think that is just the journey of business, isn't it? It's like things will get, the problems that you've got now will eventually be hopefully someone else's problems, and you know, but that doesn't mean they're going to disappear. Someone else will have them, and you'll have a fucking bunch of different problems that you've got to solve.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the same all the way up, but certain people are inclined towards that. Certain people have got it in them to want to do it.
Yeah.
Psychopaths, probably.
Yeah, or I haven't got a clue. Yeah.
Well, I don't think any of us really do we? So
it out on the way, yeah.
Yeah, you figure it out on the way along. So what's the future looking like for Maguire Scaffolding and for Aaron? What's the future
Yeah,
looking
so
like?
for me, obviously I want to concentrate trying to grow and scale the business enough, get myself a bit more steady on the feet. Like I say, to be honest, did become a bit of a busy fool, trying to win jobs, a lot of residential jobs, maybe not so much good money on them, try and get out of the residential market as such, front and back jobs. Maybe start trying to merge more into temporary roofs, things more, bit more specialised. Again, what I have started to do is implement more safety side of things, implementing the single handrails, even whether it's front and back or not. I mean, what other one man and his transit does a single handrail, and making sure the scaffolds are proper tied in and doing a proper compliant job. You know, so that for me, from working for bigger companies for many years, working to all these compliances, and then you're coming into the deep end, into the resis, trying to compete with other transit bandits, if you like.
Oh yeah, but you
with
think
price.
me, knowing what I know,
Yeah,
and like I'd have never done anything like that, and we cut corners.
Yeah.
No one wants to admit it, but like when you're first starting out, I knew there was lads doing jobs for us, and the back of the house didn't have a single guardrail on it, and like you kind of turn a blind eye, and it's the wrong thing to do. But you have to get it wrong to learn how to get it right in a way. And you've probably been on that journey as well. Now you're starting to do it the right way. Hopefully people see that and go, oh. You know, because you do when you see, you know, the front of an house and it's got no single guardrail on it, it looks rough. Even to someone who doesn't know about scaffolding, it looks empty. Do you know what I mean? When it's like, well, there's not enough gear in it.
There's no lights on in the house.
It looks wrong.
Yeah.
So I think going on that journey of starting to improve things, get things right. I always say this, you know, to clients that we've got that sort of have done or are doing the same thing. You used to work for Rose. Rose are a great company. I used to work for Lindens. Lindens probably had the best name, best reputation in the country for scaffolding. And I could name other names as well. And you think, well, when you were working there, think how much you put into a job and how safely and compliantly you put the scaffold up while you were working on it. And then when it's your own, you're not doing it. It's like, you want to give yourself that level of quality.
Exactly. Well, I don't know whether it's people that are lacking materials or they think they're putting too much more in the job. They're not priced
There's a lot,
it for this.
I'm oversimplifying it.
Yeah. So again, I get it. If you're working off a van, it's probably a material issue. Small van, you know what I mean? And the price you're putting in for the job, they're trying to slap it up and down. But again, like you say, the standards do drop from having all these safety standards and stuff, working for bigger companies. Then when you're into the streets, you're literally in the streets.
And there's no one watching you. You know, that's the other thing. There's no site manager.
But for me, do you really want to be putting your banner on that job?
It's crazy how many people do.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? You think, if my job was that bad, there's no way I'd have a big sign on it. But you do see them, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, like you say, it's your name, your logo, and it literally is your name.
Yeah, your reputation. Exactly.
Going on the side of it. So, but it's all a journey.
Yeah. So for me, like I say, I want to get a bit more steady on the feet, and start helping my younger self. I've set up a not-for-profit limited company, charity as to speak, called the Scaffman CIC. So that, as I spoke to you about previously before, that's to basically help my younger self from 15, 16 onwards without that right direction or guidance in life. You know, people with similar setups to us at that younger age, you know, failing in school, if you like to call it failing. For me, it's just that you're not really got on there.
And would the goal of that be to like maybe do something similar to what we spoke about at the start, like one of these provisions that you went and did a bit of joinery or whatever,
Yeah, so basically it'd be people who are not in work, not in school, mainly, you know, school leavers ideally, because then they're pretty much ready to get into work. So, you know, it's to get them into the local gym, local Thai boxing gym, something, get them down there twice a week on like a 6 or 8 week program, providing they turn up on time every time, they're disciplined, they're getting that discipline drummed in.
This isn't just scaffolding, this is lifestyle as
This
well.
is lifestyle, this is discipline and drive into yourself, you know, hanging around other disciplined people. This is what you need in life, you know.
Yeah.
Not just turn up to do a job. You need to have a bit of structure for yourself and life, like you say. So get them in there, providing they turn up on time every time. Hopefully then we can, you know, run a class of up to 10 people at a time in a local area, let's say for instance Stockport, Greater Manchester.
And it's like taking them through a programme.
Take them through a programme through the Scaffman CIC, the Direction Project, because that's what it is, direction in life basically. They might not be having this guidance or the right role models around them. The mum and dad might not be there, or they might be not helping guide them because they don't know any different, not because they're not doing it deliberately. They've just not got the connections or the right people to help push them on in life. And yeah, so the plan is to then help push them onto local businesses, not just for me to build my business. This is for them as individuals and to give a bit back to myself, to help what I needed back then. To say, for instance, me going in and out of prison. So if I can help even one person at a time doing that out of a group of 10, get them into a career path, starting off with local scaffolding firms, roofing firms, whatever it is. Because again, scaffolding might not be for everyone. For me, that's the industry I'm in. So it worked well for me. But again, any sort of construction trade.
Yeah, good thing about scaffolding is if you are doing that sort of thing, you've got access to, we're a service trade, aren't you? You've got access to the builders, to the roofers, you know, to a lot of the other renderers, for example, different trades.
Yeah. So we're looking to get funding off the government. Again, that can be maybe difficult to get at a time. So the idea is for us to reach out to local businesses who are struggling to get young lads into the industry, get them to chip in, whether it be 50 quid each, couple hundred quid towards running this course, paying for the gym classes, what are going to be running. Obviously the gyms will maybe give us the time for free, but we might have to pay the coach to do the coaching for an hour or two at a time, twice a week. And then, you know, on the back end of that, we want to look to give them a good member of staff to push them through their business.
Approach, isn't it? You're building the character, you're building the skills.
Yeah. Rather than them turning up to their yard, for instance, a scaffolding yard with the shoelaces tied together, they don't even know how to conduct themselves. Straight away, they're not going to take them on.
Yeah.
If they've already got a bit about themselves, you know, we're not teaching them how to fight and come in and start knocking everyone out. But
yeah, but
you need
standing
people
up
with a
straight
bit of
with your
backbone.
shoulders back,
yeah.
innit? Yeah.
Know how to conduct themselves and be polite and take the right approach.
It's a massive, massive thing, innit? I think more so now than ever as well. Like everyone lives online. Yeah. And just to be able to stand in front of someone and go, "Hi, my name's Isaac, and I'm this, this, and this." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those skills, I think, are stuff that we need to get into these youngsters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just looking someone in the eye and having a conversation with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So again, you know, it's about connecting with other businesses, not trying to take the world on yourself. Grow as a community, as a network, wider network, and give a bit back to people really, and give everyone a good opportunity that they deserve, providing they're willing to work for it.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to see how it progresses. I'm here to lend my hand to it if there's anything that I can, you know, do to help, whether it's just a bit of a donation here or there, or, you know, trying to bring people in to give them some sort of training, you know, without costing anything. Yeah. Absolutely, definitely keen to help out, and hopefully, you know, watch it develop and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's the plan, mate.
Thanks so much for coming on, mate.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And then we'll wrap it up there, I think. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, all I ask is that you like, subscribe, and get notified every time we drop a new episode.